right, so we're sharing this. All right, top 10 time mastery tips. All right, so for those of you that know me, I do PowerPoints for all of them. I love my little PowerPoints. And they used to be a little bit more elaborate until the club hands came. So now I just kind of do the highlights. Somebody said they like it better that way. Somebody else likes the other way better. Let me know. I want to know if you like it this way. It's actually easier and more fun for me to do it this way, but I'm not positive I hit on all of the stuff I need to be hitting on. So you win some, you lose some. Let's see. All right, so today, top 10 time mastery tips. So we were talking about this yesterday. What are your pillars? If you know your pillars right off the bat, like what are the main things that you talk about? If you know those right off the bat, put them in the comments below. I want to see maybe 3 to 5 pillars that you talk about often on your personal profile, wherever you talk about business, your personal profile, your Instagram, your business page, wherever your group, wherever you talk about business. I want to know what are the main things you talk about. So if you know me, personal branding, thought leadership is a big thing that I talk about. Content, building content, how to be seen, visible. It's another thing. Business growth, which a lot of people don't like to talk about, making money, profits, business growth. I personally believe if you're in business, you have to make profits. It's what a business is. And I also believe the more profits you make, the more people you can serve and help. And I know a lot of people don't believe that, but I do. So that's one of the things I talk about. And one of the other things is always time management, time mastery, time tips, productivity, that type of thing. And then I would say a personal development always. I'm always talking about how I try, which, it's all about priorities, right? So let's dive in. Top 10 time mastery. Oh, so anyway, the point of that story was today we're talking about time mastery. I think that most entrepreneurs and coaches, we have something in common, and that is we have focus flicker, right? We get super distracted. And I heard somebody that I highly respect earlier today saying that we get distracted because we have a lack of certainty and a lack of clarity. I'm going to agree and disagree. I do agree. I think that the lack of clarity and certainty that we feel makes us even more distracted. But even when I am all in, super focused, I'm still very easily distracted. I will be honest. So just saying. But I do think that fixing the certainty and the clarity does definitely help you get a lot more focused. So time mastery tips. You've probably heard me say this, but I do not believe that you can manage time. You have to manage yourself, your priorities, your focus, that type of thing. So, for ultimate productivity and clarity. Clarity is a big word. We talk about it with every single thing we do. Probably at least one time in every Elevate and Engage, you will hear me say the word clarity. All right. So again, we're here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Love to have you join. Moving on. Nearly 60% of high achievers attribute their success to effective time management techniques. Whether you consider yourself a high achiever or not, I am going to tell you that more than likely you are a high achiever. If you are trying to build a business, you're one of those people who will put yourself out there, who has decided to step a little off that cliff that most people would never step over, who will, push yourself beyond boundaries that most people don't even, put. Most people are happy to be content. And most of us, if you're here, entrepreneurs, coaches, we're not. We're not happy to be content. That's for them. That's their life. And that's okay. I am not mocking it. I am not even saying they should change it. But I know for me, that just gives me ants in my pants. That makes me nervous, right? I do not want to stay the same any 2 days in a row. So if you're like that, you are probably a high achiever. The successful ones. The successful ones use effective time management techniques. And that's where it's at. So a lot of you aren't where you want to be. And my guess is 80–90% of the reason is what you're doing, priorities, prioritizing, that type of thing. All right, this is an Erica quote. If you know me, you know I do Erica quote. Success isn't about having time. It's about making time by mastering the moments you're given. Does everybody understand that, right? That's quality time. That's if you've got 2 hours a day, make them count. What are you going to do? You have to be doing money-making activities in those 2 hours a day. If you have 30 minutes, what are you doing? It has to be super laser focused. If you have 8 hours a day, 80% of that needs to be on your money-making activities, unless your business is where you want it to be. And then obviously those tides are changing, right? Tides are changing. So most of you are not where you want to be. And so 80% of your day should be spent spending on, how much, I should say of your time, because some days, some people do theme days, and maybe you have a day that's all client day. Well, obviously 80% of that day is not going to be on money-making activities. It's going to be client facing. That's okay too. You get it. All right. So we are doing an acronym. I haven't done one in a while. The last couple ones, I think I did alliterations, which is CCCCC or something like that. So today we are doing an acronym. Yay, I love my acronyms. So first letter, if you're taking notes, M, manage priorities. And I sort of touched on this in my quote. I sort of touched on this in the intro. But this is everything, I think. This is everything. So I know I say the word so much. I need to be recording myself and then looking through and seeing how many times I say that word. I need like one of those rubber bands, so I stopped saying it. Anyway, that's another one I say too much. I always say I'm trying to drink a gallon of water a day, and some days I drink 0 water. So am I managing my priorities if that is true? No, I'm not. Is it even a priority? That's another thing. Sometimes we have things that we say we want to do, but do we really? Is it really a priority? If you follow Tony Robbins at all, sorry. All right. So if you follow Tony Robbins at all, he says, we have a stronger urge to move away from pain than we do towards like happiness. So if I cannot create a strong enough pain as to why I need to drink that water, that could be one of the reasons I'm not drinking enough water. It could also be, it's just not one of my priorities. It could be that I'm not putting it in my face. I don't have it on my morning routine, in my thing I repeat daily. I don't have it in my afternoon check. How much water have you drank? I don't have an alarm set saying, how much water have you had so far? It's 10 a.m., that type of thing. So manage priorities. How can we fix them? If it is a priority and you're still not getting it done, what can you do to fix that? All right, so here are some ideas. Tips. I'm trying to think of the word. All right, so we're starting our tips. Manage priorities. The first one is you want to manage your schedule, right? Get obsessive. And I mean obsessive. You see this person, he's got it color coordinated. I love my colors. Love my colors. So I'm all about coordinating your schedule. If you want to see like a list of colors and how you should do it, let's talk about that. You've probably seen another one where I have talked about that, but it's one of the things that is easy to do one time. You can come up with different chunks, right, of things that you need to focus on. Money-making activities, that can be green. What do you think about that, right? Education or your learning can be yellow. You want to be able to see, week at a glance, where did you spend your time? If you're like yellow, 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 and you know how to do it all, you're just not doing it, then maybe you need to make it green, 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 green. So you know where to focus, right? This other one on the right is plan it at night. Do your schedule the night before. So I advise my clients, do it for a year, a quarter, a month, a week, and a day. And what does that mean? That means every single thing on your plate should be able to directly connect to that 1 year goal. Or if you have a BHAG also, you can bring that into the mix, but all of it should be connected. And if you don't know exactly what that BHAG is, if you don't know exactly what that 1 year is, the quarter, what are your main focuses right now? Then that is something that you want to review every single day. But what this one in particular is about is review your schedule the night before. See what it is that you really need to do the next day. And I would say, hey, if you've got a BHAG, put that at the top of every day. If you know what your yearly goal, your quarterly goal, your monthly goal is, can you add, you don't have to add all of it. Maybe you decide, okay, that's like way too much. I just want to add my monthly goal because my monthly goals, I already made sure connected to my quarterly goals, which connected to my yearly goals. So I don't really have to write all of that down. I just need to know what my monthly goal is. And I need to know that every activity I'm doing tomorrow is focusing on that. And if it's not, ask myself, why not? Why not? If I say this is a priority and these are my monthly goals, why is this activity on here if it has nothing to do with that? Not saying that it can't be on there. I mean, there could be things that are on there that don't apply to that. Number one, things happen. Things pop up, right? That's why over here on the left, you want to make sure that some of those spaces are totally white. You want to leave time to do the things that you didn't think of. You want to leave time for that. You want to leave time to relax, to create, to envision whatever it is. So you want to put those times on thing. And every now and then, stuff happens. Life happens. You know, maybe you meet somebody in a networking, which was on your calendar, and that appointment was on your calendar, and you had a meeting and decided, wow, we have so much in common. We want to get something going on together, and we're going to start a project. That project was not even in your thing, right? Even in the mix, but it's hot, it's exciting, it matches your goals, and you're like, I'm going to find a way to get this in, and now it becomes a priority. You need to relook at all your goals. You need to make sure it's aligned, but you know, you want to add it in, figure out a way. So there are things like that that are going to come up, and you want to have space for that, but you also want to be able to align everything. And we were talking about this yesterday. I'm in the middle of a challenge right now. And if you're not in that, make sure you jump in that. It's contentfusionchallenge.com if you want to register. Otherwise, you can just come on here. But it's we were talking about aligning things. There are some coaches who will tell you to just put content out there that, you know, talks about who you are and what you're all. I believe that nobody cares what you're eating for breakfast unless you're a celebrity or there's a reason for them to care. And I think that we need to give them that reason to care. If you want to put what you eat for breakfast on there, I want you to tell me why, what's in that for me? Remember, everything that you do needs to be intentional. I am looking at your content, not because you're a celebrity, hello, unless you are, I could be wrong. But I'm looking at your content for me. How is your content going to help me? So if you're just like, oh, I ate a great breakfast and, you know, it was blah, 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 blah. And you don't tell me that this breakfast is the perfect breakfast for every other coach and entrepreneur who are your audience, because it gives you more energy. You notice that every time you eat this breakfast, you have so much energy, and they should try it because it will bump up their day. Do you see how I like wrap that in to your audience and made it align? If you're a fitness coach and you're eating this breakfast that looks so delicious and looks like, oh my God, you should never eat that for breakfast, but you can tell your clients, you can eat this. I ate this for breakfast, and this is why it's so great for you, and blah, 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 and here's the recipe. That's okay, but loop it in to what you're doing. Make sure that you align everything. And I'm kind of into the word align lately. Just a little side conversation here. But the reason I'm into the word align lately is because I have realized that when I'm feeling anxious, when I'm feeling or not all happy like my normal self, I have figured out why. And it is because I am doing something that is not in alignment with who I think I am, who I think I should be or will be or want to be, however you want to say it. But that person, it's because I'm not in alignment with that, or I'm not in alignment with what I am telling myself are my goals and priorities. And I need to revise that. Are they? And if they are, why am I not doing what I'm saying I'm doing? So all of that. Side note on who I want to be. It's not that you're changing who you are. You are that person deep inside. You're just acting out of, you're doing things that are not the best side of you, right? If you do drugs, you're still the person on the inside that you were before you started doing drugs. That's the point I'm trying to make. So you're bringing out the best of you. And I'm saying if you're not acting like that person, then maybe you're not in alignment, and that's what's giving you the angst. So if you're feeling a little bit of that, maybe take a look and see what it is. Not a doctor, not going to say it, but if you have bouts of depression or something, see, are you living in alignment with who you think you are and should be, and what you need to be doing and should be doing? Don't live in need and should, but you see what I'm saying with your priorities. All right. And again, before I change screens, priorities are something that you get to decide. It's not what other people say you should be doing. It's not, Gary Vee says you should be working 80 hours a week. And you're like, but I've got, 3 kids at home. I love to take care of the house and my husband and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, your priorities are not the same as Gary Vee's. That does not mean that your priorities are any less, not even for a second. It means if those are your priorities and business is a priority, you need to decide when you're going to do the business and get super laser focused in the time that you have. But you also need to realize maybe your 2 hours, isn't going to get you there as fast as you wanted to get there, and be okay with that because you have other priorities that you need to address as well. So it doesn't mean do what other people say you should by any stretch of the imagination. You get to decide your priorities. That's why we're in this business, because we want to decide for ourselves what our life looks like. Life by design, one of my favorite phrases, life by design. All right, A, remember the first one was M, the second one is A, allocate your resources. So here are the next 2 tips. First one, block your schedule. I'm wondering if on that first one, I missed whatever. I can give you the tips later if you want them, but block your schedule. So make sure it's in there. You need to figure out what you want to do. And that was probably the first one, a little bit more of, decide what those priorities are and then put them into a calendar. Figure out what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how often you're going to do it, how much you're going to do it, everything you can add to it to make it make sense and to make you stick to it, put it in there. And the one on the right, no, we need to get really good at saying no. Because remember, every time you say yes, you are non-verbally saying no to something else. There are only 24 hours in a day. 1440. Have you ever heard that? That's the amount of minutes in a day, 1440. So every time you say yes to something, if it's a 30-minute quickie, it's 30 minutes that you could have been doing outreach. It's 30 minutes you could have been doing follow-up. It's 30 minutes you could have been doing blah, 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 right? So when you say yes, you are also saying no. So we need to get really good at saying no. And again, if you are trying to figure this out, what do you want to do? You want to look at your priorities and say, is this on my priorities list? Does this align with where I want to be? Or I really, really, really want to help my friend out. And I'm going to take up some of my white space for this. That's going to, for me, it's worth it. And I'm doing it. That's okay too. Again, we get to decide, but just do it consciously, knowingly, and make an actual decision. Don't just yes, 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 or no, no, no. Make decisions, even if they're quick. All right, S, streamline processes. Before I get into this, I'm going to say, if you are starting out in your business, you do not need technology. I love technology. I will offer you technology. My business, I have an agency with all of the technology. I've got the VAs. I've got everything you want. But will I recommend you use it when you first start off? Nope, I won't. Why not? Because you don't need it. It's a distraction. You don't even know where you're going or what you're doing yet. You could probably get to 100,000 without ever even using technology. And so when I say streamline processes, that means with or without technology, you want to know exactly what you're doing before you get all excited about some of that technology. And if you're geeky like me, which most of you probably aren't, I have noticed that. So I love business growth. I love studying about businesses, how they're growing, what they're doing. I love marketing, everything about it. And I also geek out on tech. And I will not say that I am excellent at tech. I'm not. I feel like it's one of those, I like to torture myself through it because it makes me feel good when I figure it out. But I'm not that excellent at it. However, I am way better than the average person because the average person hates tech, right? And if you hate it, you're definitely not going to geek out on it. All right, so no idea where I was going with that. Streamline processes. The word MAS. Who can guess the word? Who can guess the word? If you can guess the word right now, drop it down below. Drop it down below. Who can guess the word? All right, streamline processes. What do we got? One on the left. Use your technology. Use your technology. Make sure that. Do you need technology? No. Are there little pieces that you could add in now that would make it easier? Example, if you are a coach and you are not using a calendar, Calendly, have just one type of appointment, it's free. If you have no money and nothing else is going on, you should probably have a Calendly. Now, I just said you don't need a calendar. Nope, you don't. You don't. But does it make it a lot easier? Yes, it does. There's no learning curve. There's no output of money. You can change it anytime. You're not going to get like so invested that you can't change out of it. So that might be one that I would recommend. Having a Stripe account. I would recommend it and knowing how to use it. So those might be two. But other than that, at the beginning, you don't need it. Later on, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Right now, I'll build you all these funnels with all of the back end where it'll send the emails, it'll send the SMS. If this, then that, all of that. Yes, you want it all. Do you want to use ManyChat? My software now does something very similar to ManyChat. Do you want to use that? Yes. Say yes to it all. But when you're ready, don't do it unless it is a point in time when you're ready for it. At the moment that you are or where you're at is what you need to be streamlining. Those are the processes you need to be streamlining. If you don't even know your flow or what I'm even talking about, then that's not one you need, right? If you haven't had enough conversations, you don't even know if what you're doing is really where you're going to be at in another month or two. You might still be in that pivot stage. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. You have to go through those stages. But what do you want to be streamlining? Maybe you streamline the conversations you're having. Maybe you streamline the follow-up. How am I going to, keep track of where I'm following up? Maybe you were like, oh, I kind of do need a system for this. It would really help me to have a CRM. Give me a call. I'll help you out. But if you're like, I'm perfectly fine with Excel or my notebooks, which I use both still, and software, whatever it is. Oh, and Mr. No. All right, so when we streamline our processes, we're also taking out whatever we don't need. Excess. So if you're talking to somebody who geeks out on technology, you know how much technology I have? Oh my God, way too much. Nobody needs way too much technology. You need what you need, and that's it. That is it. Do not get overwhelmed with all of the stuff, shiny object, right? What's it? What's that? Oh my God, that's so cool. That's so cool. You will be surprised to know, but marketing has been around since the beginning of time. The strategies, which is what I love, not the tactics, the strategies are almost the exact same. I mean, really, literally, they are. The strategies are tried and true because they have to do with human psychology. They have to do with what people really lean towards and do and why they do it and all of that. That's the strategy behind what you're doing. So if you think that, having the best tech is going to get you there, it's not. It's not what people need. And to be quite honest, if you are nervous about doing the sales or converting people, the more you can do organically, authentically, the more people will know, like, and trust you before you even get to that stage of the game. On down the line, you can do it through technology. But what does technology do sometimes? It takes out the human touch. And if what you need right now is more conversations, you're going to have less the more technology you have. So always think of why you're using something and is it what I need to be using right now for me? Just because, Gary Vee's using it or Amy Porterfield or whoever does not mean that it's going to be perfect for you in your business right now. Think about that. All right, so when we streamline processes, you want to know every single thing that you do day to day. So start tracking your days. Why? Because the very first thing you want to do in your business is hire somebody. And does that mean you have to be able to afford to hire, somebody for a full-time salary? No, I'm talking about hiring a VA for a couple hours a week. That's the first thing you want to do. And what do you want to give them? You want to give them the repetitive tasks that you're doing over and over again. How do you know what they are? Because you've been tracking it. How are they going to know how to do it? Because you've been writing it step by step, step by step. Why are you doing that? Because we get going, right? Our minds can get going. And you've seen Bill Gates. I can't think of who it is. A couple of people who wear the exact same thing all of the time, right? And if you see me, I wear my branded t-shirts. Every time I get on, I've got gray and black. That's it. And then the stuff on them is a little bit different maybe, which you can never even see. I know what I'm wearing, but most of the time you don't even see it. You'll see gray or black. I've got like tons of them and they all have different little things on them. But I'm wearing those for me, not for you. It doesn't really matter, right? Because you can't see them. But my point is, if you take the decision-making process out of things, you can go faster. You can save that decision-making processes for other things. So if you're repeating tasks over and over and over again, write them down. Does it take you longer? Yes. If you do it over and over again, are you going to realize that you didn't write down this step? Yes. And why? Because every time you do it, you're going to either forget the next step or have to look it up. Or how many times have you done the same thing over and over and over again and you keep having to look it up? It's like when you were in school and they wanted to make you memorize the math formulas. I'm like, why? We could just look them up. Now, if you use the exact same formula for 6 months in a row, you'll probably just memorize it naturally. But that's okay once you memorize it naturally. But until then, if you can write down, all right, every time I go live, these are the 17 steps that I take. These are the 26 steps. And you're like, what? You just click go live. No, there's a lot of stuff that you want to do beforehand, right? So for Elevate and Engage, there's a whole list of stuff that needs to happen before I just show up today. I want to have an entire checklist of all of those things and when they need to be done, how much in advance, days of the week or 3 days before, whatever it is, you want to know all of that. You want to know all of that. If you're editing a video, right? What are all the steps that go into that? How long does it take? How many things can you write down about that? You want to get as nitty gritty as possible. Why? Because number one, if you've got that list, all you're doing is going boop, 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 boop. You're not thinking about it. You're just doing it. That saves you time right there. You're not looking up, oh crap, what was that? What was that? And looking it up. Talking about streamlining processes and using technology. If you are not using a keyword software, get one. That is well worth the money. Get one. Anyway, all right, moving on. So we are at MAS. If you've got the guests, let me see it in there. If you're on Zoom, I can't see the chats because if I open it, everybody will see it. So I'm not. But I'm looking in the Facebook. I don't see any guesses. All right, we're going on. We're going on. T. Who can guess it now? MAST. All right. Transfer responsibilities. Sometimes I have to play with the words a little to get them to fit into my acronym. So transfer responsibilities. You see my little picture here, right? What is the picture that you get in your mind? Giving somebody else something to do. So I mentioned that. The first thing you're going to want to do in your business is give somebody else something to do. Transfer responsibilities. Can you outsource anything? And you're like, I have no money. Okay. But take the extra time to create those SOPs. Do you have kids? Can you have some free employees? Do you have a spouse? Somebody else that can help you do anything? Are there things that you can transfer the responsibility of to whatever, right? That is a huge help in your business. What do I want to say about this? So, back in the day, I started online in 2007, and I swear I keep thinking I'm going to put this book over on my desk so I can bring it up every time I talk about it, but I never did. So I started my business in 2007 when I read The 4-Hour Workweek. I know you think it's cheesy. If you're newer to the game, you might not even know what it is, but it's basically, the Bible for starting your online business. And what happened was I was on an airplane. I was going from Panama to Atlanta. I had read everything in my house that was in English and had nothing left to read. Apparently, back in the day, I must not have had an iPad. If I had a phone, I never thought of reading on my phone. And I don't know, a laptop, maybe I didn't read on laptops. I don't know, but I had nothing to read. So I'd read because I only read physical books in that day. So anyway, I'm at the airport. This is the one and only time, never before, never since, that I have bought a book at the airport. And it had just come out. It was, a bestseller, and it was still in hardback. They didn't even have the paperback yet. So I bought the book, and I was hooked. 4-hour flight. I read the whole book. I think, I don't remember, but if I didn't read the whole book on the flight, I finished it off shortly thereafter. And I was hooked. And everybody thinks it's about like sipping Mai Tais, and everybody gets a little bit of a different take on what the 4-Hour Workweek is about. What I got out of the 4-Hour Workweek was outsource, leverage. Those are the two words I would say. Leverage is still one of my favorite words. Outsource, obviously, is a big one of mine. But the reason I love those words is because you can get more done, right? So the whole concept of that is, in 4 hours, what can you do? And if you've got 10 other people working 4 hours, now how much can you do? So in your same 4 hours, how much can get done? And that's kind of the concept, right? If you're leveraging other people, if you're able to transfer responsibilities, sometimes we're like, oh, nobody can do this like I can do that. And the first couple of things we let go might be easy, and then it might get harder and harder and harder. And, you might want to work on that with somebody, and I can help you work on that. But the reality is we want to be able to outsource everything. We want to be able to transfer responsibility of everything in our business at some point. Everything. All right. Why do I say everything before we go into this next one? Because you want a business that runs while you sleep, while you're on vacation, while you have to take care of your, aging, dying, hurt, parents, sibling, brother, mother, whoever. You want to have that time freedom. That is one of the reasons you're doing your own business. And when you start your own business, at the beginning, you don't have that at all. But you don't want to lose sight of why you started the business. And my guess is there are a lot of reasons, but that is one of them. And so you always want to be able to maintain that. Not always. You want to work towards that. It doesn't mean you have to give it away. It doesn't mean you have to give everything away. It means you want to be able to. Big difference, right? Kind of like when you're working corporate. So a lot of people now my age who thought I was crazy back in 2007 are now like, you need to teach me. I want to do that on the side because when I retire, and I'm retiring early because I've worked corporate all these years, when I retire, I am going to need extra money or I'm going to need something to do. Those are the two biggest reasons why corporate people right now are diving into this. And I would say, if that's you, you've got expertise, right? You have years and years of expertise. What you don't have is maybe the business or the marketing or whatever, but you can hire people for that side of it. You can hire people to help you because you don't have the time. You have a little bit more money than others that don't have money, right? So you have the things that you need to be able to do that. And right now, when you don't have the time, you're almost building it from scratch, but you eventually want to be able to still maintain that level of life that you've decided on. And you're like, I don't want to quit my job. Well, you don't need to. You can build it in the 2 hours a day extra that you give it, or the hour a day extra that you give it. It's highly possible. All right. So E, evaluate breaks. I got this little guy dancing, jumping out of his seat, dancing. I don't know what he's doing. That's what I'm just saying he's doing. I have no idea. It looks like he's getting ready to dance, right? So evaluate breaks. Let's look at this one. Oh, okay. Yeah. Did I skip the thing? Nope, I write this in here. All right. The ultradian, no idea how to pronounce that. Anybody wants to correct me, feel free. The ultradian rhythm. Studies suggest that the brain can only focus for 90 to 120 minutes before it needs a break. 90 to 120 minutes. And that is you as an adult because you're interested and you're excited, right? When we're talking about high schoolers, when they have class for 90 minutes, do you think that's happening? No. 45 minutes was what I always heard. And I studied education. 45 minutes was what I always heard. But even in 45 minutes, if it was a classroom of high schoolers, would I do 45 minutes on one topic? No way, no how. People would be daydreaming their eyelids, right? So you need to know what is you're an adult now, you get to decide. You know how long you can keep the focus. Excuse me. You know how long you can keep the focus. And if you know that 90 minutes is your limit, and then you start repeating, losing your train of thought, going back, stop. Just stop. If that's 30 minutes for you, don't stress yourself out. Take a 5-minute break. Pomodoro, right? 25-5. Has anybody heard of that? I'm a very big believer in this. And we're going to go to the next page in a second and talk about some other things. But figure out what your ultradian, I don't even know. I haven't said this. This was a copy paste. But I wanted you to have this idea because I believe that all of us have a different level. And a different level depending on what we're doing. Some of the things in our business that we are doing are not like, oh my God, I cannot wait to dive into this. For example, I could coach for hours probably. Do I? Not normally, but I mean, I can keep my energy pretty high on a 3-day event with no problem. Well, I mean, some breaks, but I can keep my energy pretty high. Somebody else, they would be like, oh my God, kill me. A whole day of training, no way. 2 hours of training, forget about it. You need to know for you what yours is, because yours and mine are not the same. I'm not going to tell you, you have to be able to focus for 90 minutes or 120 minutes before you get a break. No, that's crazy. This is not school. You don't have a teacher telling you or a boss saying you can take a break every 4 hours for 15 minutes. No, we work for ourselves. You get to decide. And this is the beauty, one of the biggest beauties that we need to figure out for ourselves and take advantage of. Why? Because it's going to make you more productive. It will make you way more productive. I know that about halfway through the day, around 2 or 3, I start looping. I start looping. I start going down rabbit holes. I just do. And the minute I notice I'm doing that, it doesn't matter what time it is, I will get up and I will take a break, walk away. Because when I come back stronger. I come back refreshed. I eat a lot of snacks. I'll eat a snack during that time. Whatever it is, what works for you. Going over there and eating a Snickers bar, are you going to come back refreshed and ready to rock and roll? Maybe for the first 10 minutes, but check your time in 40. Are you still refreshed and ready to rock and roll? My guess is you're like, so start tracking these things, not just the ultradian rhythm. When you need breaks, how often you need breaks, how long you need those breaks for, what you should be doing in those breaks, what you should be eating. And I am not going to be your nutritionist because I am the worst person. You probably have heard me talk about my Big Macs. So, so if you are trying to get as productive as possible, how much water are you drinking? Everything affects that energy. Everything affects your focus, your level of focus, and the task at hand. So again, you get to decide, but start paying attention to it. Start keeping track. Keep a little notebook. So if you keep a notebook like I do, I just blah, 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 blah on my notebook, right? If I was keeping track of this, I would want a separate piece of a notebook, or, like somewhere where I could look and see, okay, not 30 pages back is what I'm trying to get at. So keep an Excel spreadsheet, whatever works for you. Notion is everybody's new favorite. Whatever works for you, but start keeping track of, okay, how long was I working before I needed that break? And you'll start to figure out what your ultradian rhythm is. And then you can really rock and roll and your productivity will skyrocket. Hold on, I'm trying to change pages. All right. So evaluate breaks. And I put in here, what should you be doing on your break? Again, time of day, personality, who you are, what you like to do. All of that is really different for everybody. This bottom right is cell phone. I have read a lot of things that say, if you use your cell phone during a break, it's not a break. Your brain is not taking a break. So I would say, of all the things you can choose, that would be the last one that I think would be a good idea. Again, you decide for you if it feels like a break or not. Hiking, exercising, taking a walk, putting some music on and dancing in your living room. If you have a 5-minute break, are you going to go take a walk? No, it takes me 5 minutes just to get downstairs and outside of my house. But maybe I'll stand up. Do you have like what are those things called? A rebouncer or whatever, that little mini trampoline. You have one of those. Maybe you stand in the middle of your living room, do some squats, put some music on, dance around, play with your dog, throw, a ball for a few minutes, whatever it is. Maybe a longer break, you go out for lunch with friends. How often are you going to do that? Probably not every day if you're really, priority is business, but every now and then you need to take that break and really a massive break and relax. You see the top left one, she's just stretching. She's just stretching. I mean, maybe you just sit back and stretch for a second. If you only have a few minutes in between meetings, use it, take it as a break, right? And then watch TV. I will be honest, I do love my TV. And I try to, what I like to do is try to decide how much TV I'm going to watch, how much TV I'm going to watch in a day, how much TV I'm going to watch in a session, whatever it is. Decide. Because what happens? You can sit down in front of a TV and watch 3 movies in a row and never get back to work because you can, right? Because you own this business. It's your life. You get to decide. But is that really what you want to do? Let's go back to that priorities list. Is that really what you want to be doing? Watching TV for 3 hours? I doubt it. So if watching TV helps you totally disconnect, get your mind off of everything and, veg out, as I like to say, for me, it really does. I mean, for me, it is if I am inside my house, I am almost 99% on my computer. So I don't like to cook. I don't like being in the kitchen. I will play with my dog, but that lasts about 5 minutes. So the other thing I can do to relax in my house besides take a nap is watch TV. Do I exercise in my house? Not that often. Sometimes I'll walk around, whatever. But take walks. I do a lot of that because I love my podcasts. Whatever. Do whatever it is, but evaluate the breaks that you're taking. And the idea here is not me telling you how often you need to take a break, how long you need to take a break, or what you need to do on your break. The idea is you need to take control of that and start paying attention to when you need to breaks, how often you need to breaks, what you should be doing during those breaks. How does it make you feel when you do that and then you come back? Does that revive you or not? That's the type of thing. All right. We're on our last one. Everybody should know it by now. R, master your time, right? So R is review and adjust. Review and adjust. So it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. This should always be the last one in some way, shape, or form, right? Evaluate depending on the letter, but review and adjust works for this. For master into my analogy. So what do you want to review? Again, how did that work for you? How did that Big Mac work for you yesterday, Erica? Did it make you come back to work alive and excited to jump back in, or did it make you want to take a nap? Start tracking that. I worked for 4 hours straight and I got so much done, but I started at 7 in the morning. I tried it again at 2 in the afternoon and I got like nothing done. These are the types of things you want to notice. I know there is no possibility that I could start something at 2 in the afternoon and work for 4 hours straight. Because remember, I told you my brain at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, it just starts going and I need a break. So if I had 4 hours of work that I wanted to do, I would calculate in there a lot of breaks in between, because if it was in the afternoon, because that's just how I work. And sitting there trying to make myself get it done is a waste of time. It's complete waste of time. I'm doing nothing and I get to decide. Remember, no boss. So what are you going to do for your next steps? How are you going to figure out what's working? You look at the one on the left and that's track it, right? How are you going to start tracking it? What are you going to start looking at? I want to know in the comments, how much do you think that you are going to really take out of this and get done? And then the one on the right is review mirror. You got it. Cheesy. Review what you've done. If you take notes and then you don't set aside time in your calendar blocked off, hey, on Friday at 4, I'm going to go back and look at all my whole week and see when I took those breaks, how effective were they, how I felt afterwards, and make some decisions and review and adjust my schedule for next week based on that. If you don't do that part, well, the whole other part was pointless. So review and adjust. All right. You want to take a pic? Take a pic. Master your time, manage priorities, allocate your resources, streamline processes, transfer responsibilities, evaluate breaks, review, and adjust. How much of this are you doing? How much of this are you really doing? And on a scale of 1 to 10, would you say you are like an uber productive person and you have like complete, mastery of your time? Or do you need work on some of these? And if you need work on some of these, which one are you tackling? What are you going to work on? Let me know. All right. Managing time isn't possible. I said that at the beginning. Managing priorities is. And that's the secret to unlocking true productivity. Eric Leary quote. That is, in a nutshell, what this whole presentation was about, right? You cannot manage your time as many times as you might hear me say it or somebody else say it. That is not an impossible task. You have to figure out what your priorities are and start prioritizing and reviewing and adjusting your priorities based on what's going on. All right, secret to unlocking true productivity. Get it done. Next week on Elevate Engage, ultimate